feel like I'm getting closer to something, or something's getting closer to me.
Dalton!
When you awaken the dead, the further you travel, the riskier your journey will become.
Welcome to Horror Queen Film Reviews, Episode 9. I have with me special guest.
Ethel Institution.
Say it a little bit louder, Mom.
Ethel Institution.
Okay. And
Mistress, Baby Ray. Your favorite judgmental mean lesbians.
I am your host, Miss Taint. We are going to watch Insidious, the last movie. Insidious, the last movie.
Yeah, imagine like Fast and Furious and it keeps going.
The last door. The last one, bitch. The red door. Oh, it is red door. The red door? The red door. Red door.
We are going to watch Insidious, the Red Door. The Red Door? Yeah. Okay, the Red Door.
I'm Mistress, Baby Ray. I am a drag artist, an AFAB queen, and a horror/film lover for all of my days. I personally think the Insidious franchise was a game changer for horror as a whole, and really brought it into the new age in kind of like a seamless way, in the sense that old horror was very, like, it was expected to be camp. And then when we came into the digital age, early 2000s horror was very CGI heavy and kind of choppy, but Insidious really came out with these beautiful films that were flawless, smooth, and horror undoubtedly. So I'm really excited to see this. I love the Insidious franchise. Go see horror movie. We gonna see horror movie.
Ethel, you're not really big on horror, right?
I do like horror, but I'm a pussy. Not in a good way, but I'm like, remember what was her name? In Scary Movie Brenda? No, that's very much me. Name's Ethel Institution, if you didn't already know. I started off performing at a ditch, the Lambert Creek ditch to be exact. I started performing for stoned teenagers, and now I'm on the bigger stages. Also a fab, little trashy, little bit of mental illness in there.
3 popcorn and sodas, please.
Is there a movie show?
Insidious?
Oh, is that why? Okay.
I'm on Barbie. That's kidding.
Police found multiple dead bodies on that farm in Sicily.
9 seconds.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Horror Queen Film Reviews. And we reviewed Insidious, the Red Door. Insidious is the 5th film in the franchise, and it is a PG-13 supernatural horror thriller. I have a lot of thoughts on it, so let's just get right to it. I was scared, and it was very refreshing to see a film that actually scared me. You know, coming from last time, episode 8, where we reviewed The Boogeyman did not scare me. This film, I screamed a good, Sayla, how many times did I scream?
At least 5 times.
At least 5?
This installment of the film was directed and starred in by Patrick Wilson, who has been a prominent person and actor throughout the Insidious franchise. I thought it was very interesting to see direct. I always have opinions when actors turn directors.
I love the whole father aspect of wanting to be there for his son, and his son kind of having that block in between. So it was definitely a lot of character development from the beginning to the end, but it was even more character development being that, you know, we saw them in the first film literally grow up. Like, everyone's old, there's a lot of shit that happened within the family. That's how it starts off. It starts off with a funeral, there's jump scares. Overall, I liked it. It wasn't the best Insidious film, but it was high up there. I definitely feel like they kind of rushed it. I do feel like they wanted to close the franchise all up together, and they, like, spoilers, they kind of left no room for anything else to happen. I don't want to give too much away, but definitely they closed the chapter, and this is the last Insidious film. So it kind of just tied up everything together. Was the plot kind of loose? Yes. But what do we expect when a film has five films in there? It's 9 years later, and they're already all grown up, and the son's going to college. So I kind of feel like yeah, it was rushed, and but it wasn't bad at the same time.
It wasn't bad.
The ending was corny as fuck.
Yes, it wasn't. I do feel like it was. I can't say that it was a terrible film. I can't say it was a bad film. But I can say is I feel like that they did not trust the audience intellectually. I do not think that they left much to the imagination. I think they were very much like, this is a situation. I love when horror explores serious and deep like issues. My only issue is I like when it does it and leaves up to our interpretation.
I agree.
I appreciate, like for instance, like Carrie. That entire film is about womanhood and becoming a woman. But on a first watch, you wouldn't get that. In this film, I felt like it was very cut and dry. This is what we're doing. This is where the story's ending. Be happy with this, in my opinion.
Yeah, it
Right?
felt like a very rushed, like, be happy we even brought it back all at the end. So, Ethel and Mistress, how did we feel about the monsters in this last Insidious film?
I feel like it looked a little cheap.
A little cheap.
A little cheap?
I personally have issues with monsters that are almost entirely CGI. A lot of the beginnings of the genre were DIY and were, in a sense, very punk and alternative, and I appreciate
Yeah, a lot of the
that.
characters, they introduced us in the beginning of the Insidious franchise to a lot of, like a whole world of different characters.
Exactly.
And I feel like this last one, we were only left with like 3 of the main characters that lived on throughout the franchise.
Yes.
Which was kind of like a little,
Like we got a little glimpse of the end of that one woman, and then a little bit at the funeral scene. We have a couple of characters coming back, but in general, it's supposed to be, I think, the clear-cut ending to the tight-knit family unit. And I don't think that it came out as flawlessly and as just believable as I wanted it to be.
So, like, with that being said, this was Patrick Wilson's, I believe, first directorial debut.
Okay.
So I'll give him some cookies on that.
Yeah.
I'll give him some cookies. I thought it was a good try.
Well, here's my thing. If you're going to direct a horror movie, there is not an issue with being an actor that was previously in the franchise and going to direct. I feel like that often sometimes brings a lot of love into the director's position that just picking up a director off of the street would not. But at the same time, if you're going to direct a horror film, there should be some, at least knowledge of how to direct a horror film correctly. And not saying it was done incorrectly or that it was trash.
Do you feel like he did not
Do his homework.
No, do you feel like he wanted to take on the role of a director and carry on and close this franchise because no one else was?
Maybe, honestly. I feel like that happens a lot with beloved franchises and Hollywood just being like, take what you can. I mean, we saw it with Chucky in their like 90s moment where the director of Chucky had to like completely, essentially scrounge up everything because they were not given any money. And I don't know if that's the situation here.
There is a writer's strike going on right now.
There is.
So
That is a
I
good
think
thing to bring up.
that might
Contribute.
contribute to him being the director.
That was another thing about it, is the writing. Maybe it had something to do with the
You can
strike.
tell there's a strike.
There is.
You can tell that.
Okay, in recent media, you've been able to tell writers' rooms are struggling, and obviously that's a like an issue in the union and with all the people that
Hollywood
deserve
in
pay,
general.
and like that is a completely separate issue. But it does affect us as audience members, and it affects us as fans, and I think that's something that needs to be talked about.
So the Red Demon is a character in the Insidious franchise that I wanted to see them bring back because we only saw them in part 1 and we saw them a little bit in part 2.
I know.
And then part 3 and part 4 we didn't see them at all, and I feel like that's what the Insidious fandom was waiting for them to bring back the Red Demon. Now, did it look like it did back in part 1? No. Did they intentionally do that on purpose? Maybe. Maybe they wanted him to get angrier because he's been waiting and he's been listening to a lot of Tiny Tim, the Tiptoes Through the Tulips. They played a new Tiny Tim song in this one, so I appreciated that as well. Thoughts?
That made me very excited. I think I annoyed Miss Ethel because I was visibly like jumping and like
because this bitch was
clapping.
grabbing onto me.
I was like, they're doing
She
it.
started shaking her ass.
No.
Yeah, Tiny Tim comes on, we're all shaking our heads.
I
What we're not gonna do is that crunchy. You better wait.
Is that the SpongeBob song I was
Yes.
I loved a lot of the imagery within the realm. I loved the red lighting. I loved the tone shift that they really tried to bring to tell us, like, hey.
Yeah, the red lighting was cool.
Right? I mean, I'm just a sucker for, like, colored lighting. I love the way it makes people look on
I
screen.
liked it. It kind of gives Stranger Things though. Like I feel like it's been there, done that. Like I feel like it's been repetitive.
You know what? I feel like the scariest part to me when I wasn't like, it had a lot of like, the jump scares were jump scaring because the times that you didn't think anything was gonna happen is when it happened.
It's always very strategic. Every single time we get a jump scare, it's very built up.
And you know what also made the movie like 10 times more scary? I haven't seen a film in theaters like at the second row, like where I'm looking up at the screen like this since probably Krampus. So that was a really cool experience too, like that the seats reclined so that we were just looking up like that.
Talk about the police.
That was the scariest part. That was the scariest part.
For people that, yeah, that's exactly what I was for POC, that was scary. So yeah, there was something going on in the theater and 2 cops walked in and they were like searching the theater
around
for someone and I felt it. I smelled them from the moment they walked in. I said,
You can see
We
all
all
of us
simultaneously.
It smells like a pig in here.
earlier. And something I actually enjoyed about the opening credits of this Insidious film was how they focused on the drawing and kind of how we've been following like this little boy, like
the family
and
the
his
timeline.
his demented little drawings, like from the beginning. We started off with crayon drawings, you know, that were
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, we started off with crayon drawings that were in the earlier film, and then as the credits rolled, we started to transition into these more lifelike, photorealistic drawings that were very apparent that this is where this boy has gone as an artist. And art was also a very big thing within the film and kind of like another portal. So I appreciated that. I thought that was a nice little nod to the plot and a little nice foreshadowing.
Ethel, it blows my mind that you look so scary and you were like
Terrified.
so scared.
Terrified.
I get overstimulated like pretty easily, so like they'll put like someone could pop a balloon and I'm like ducking down and shit like that.
I thought it was a great addition to the Insidious franchise. I wish there was a little bit more substance to the film, but I'm not complaining. I'm glad they wrapped it up and that was kind of the final film. But you never know, you know? The
Let's
Red
not
Demon.
have another Fast and
Hollywood
Furious,
decides to do prequels and sequels and spin-offs every day, so we might be here again.
Personally, Miss Taint gives it a 3.5 out of 5 knives. And I really want to give it a 4, but it's not there yet.
I'm going to actually give it a 2.5.
Damn.
I personally would, okay. Talk your shit. I personally felt like it had some continuity issues. I feel like there was some stuff left to be desired.
I give it 3 out of 5 knives, because I don't know, it was okay, but I feel like the ending really fucked it over. I feel like if it had a stronger end that really could have tied in everything, it's just like,
What would you have wanted as an ending?
you had a corny ass ending.
And with that being said, thank y'all so much for watching episode 9 of Horror Queen Film Reviews.
Ride in hell, fuckers.